What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, here with day number 4 of Grand Party. This first matchup that we have was absolutely wild. I thought for sure I was going to lose this first match. I did go up against INT Gear 5 Luffy as the leader on my opponent's side, and it was a relatively threatening team, but the thing is, the other teams that were accessible to me at the time were also pretty threatening. This seemed like the most viable option, seeing that there was a Dex team and then a Quick team to take on, and then obviously there's an INT team at the end with the INT Gear 5 Luffy on it. I opted to try the Slasher team against my opponent's Dex team, and I felt like this could be a pretty viable option to get through here. As you'll see here that it does get pretty tight because my opponent gets their burst skill extremely early and they use it on me, which will obviously blow away or force out 2 free spirit characters, which in this instance is going to be the Zoro Sanji as well as the V1 Odin, and then the rest of my opponent's Dex team goes crazy and basically knocks out my entire field. So I opt to use my burst skill, but it gets really close where my opponent basically knocks out just about everything on my side of the field, and I thought for sure that me being forced out was going to cause some issues, but luckily, as my final character was knocked out, my forced out units came back in, which allowed me to have a 2v1 at the end and finally get the win. And it was crazy that my opponent used 2 INT Gear 5 burst skills against my Slasher team, was able to survive it and still pull out with a victory. It was absolutely insane. But the final game in this match was against a Quick team, and because the whole team is driven powerhouse, that Wano Law and the Sai squad were able to get the job done against this squad. So moving on to the next match, and this one, again, we are going up against an INT team that we have to take on with INT Gear 5 Luffy. Luckily, the leader is just a Pirate Rumble rare recruit, so we don't have to worry about any particular burst skills, but this team is still relatively threatening with S-Hawk, Gear 5 Luffy, Bonnie, and Pudding. Like, that's a really good core of characters that is going to be tricky for most teams to get through, and I kind of felt like the Sai team was going to be okay, but after I ran into the game, I kind of realized that they actually aren't really running like that many driven powerhouse units, so I don't really know why I decided to use this Sai team against it, as my whole team is free spirit, and then Luffy, of course, forcing out our units, and then Bonnie can special reverse our characters. Pudding gives them some special reduction, which allows them to use their special much faster. But despite the Gear 5 Luffy special forcing out a couple of our key hitters, we were luckily still able to pull through here. I mean, again, like, luckily there wasn't a burst skill. If my opponent had an actual genuine Grand Party leader in this team, it would have been a lot more challenging to take on, and I probably would not have won this game. But luckily for us, we do have the burst skill. I think I opt to use it just to ensure that I get the victory, considering my opponent was about to launch some specials against me, so I wanted to get them out of there, and of course we pick up the win against that opponent there. So moving on from that, we have a look at the next game coming up here. Luckily for us, it looks pretty good on our end, so I opted to use my free spirit team because it just seemed like the best option to do. You know, if you go up against a random team, free spirit is relatively consistent in a lot of cases, and we do go up against a quick driven powerhouse team, and I felt pretty comfortable with that one. Obviously, my opponent is going to have a lot of specials launched against us, but considering the healing factor from Otama, we have a revival from Brook, we have revives from Zoro and Luffy, we've got the special reverse from Nami and Karina. It felt pretty comfortable, wasn't really too concerned at all, and especially because eventually we will get our burst skill, so even if we don't get, you know, a lot of the characters knocked out. Eventually we'll get our burst skill, and then we could just win that way. So again, pretty comfortable victory for that second game, but the first game against the INT team was a little sketchy. And then having a look at our final team of the video today, luckily for us, it was going to be a randomly generated team. And this is something that I do want to stress to you guys, that at the end of the 4th day, so before the 5th day starts, I would advise to randomly generate your team and choose a random leader, because it's going to make the final day much easier for everybody else. Of course, there is the frustration of when you actually do want to perform your matches in day 5, you need to go back in, remake your teams and stuff like that. What you can do is just make your teams, you know, after you auto-generate your teams, switch to a new team, and then build your teams that you plan on using the day after. That's probably the best way to go about it. But yeah, it can be frustrating for sure, but it does make it a lot easier. And if everyone does it, you're going to get your free gems, you're going to get your title, you're going to get everything. So hopefully the matches coming in tomorrow are going to be a little bit more ideal. Don't have to worry about anything too stressful with you know, random Gear 5 leaders or anything like that. At the end of this clip of this video, you will see me auto-generate my own team, so you guys can see exactly the characters that I'm using on my team. Auto-generate, select a captain that you know is not commonly used, just so people kind of understand that it's a randomly generated team, and that's basically all there is to it. So thank you so much for watching the video. Final day of Grand Party coming up tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
OPTC